Hey everyone, this is Adrienne.
And I'm Shon.
And welcome to An Uncommon Love.
Yes, and we're back with you once again, and we want to talk about another interesting topic. I know one of the things that we have heard quite a bit where there's quite a few standards out there who are saying that they feel alone. What do you think to them being alone actually means?
So being alone is meaning, everything that you knew with your spouse being there is different. It's changed. Their presence going. It leaves a void. It could be possibly that children are not always there. It's not the regular run of the household because they're at visiting mom or dad somewhere else now. It could be it was just you and your husband. So now we already had an empty nest coming up, and now you've left too. Like, very lonely place to be in. That was kind of our situation.
Right.
Where we're about to empty the house out because people were going to college, one left at home, but still the presence of you being gone was very much felt. And that's what starts the loneliness. And then you go into the other piece of many of us aren't telling everybody. So you find lonely moments in that. And if you are saying something to people, they don't get it. They may not understand you. So the walk itself, the journey itself is lonely. And then there's times you're just, oh, what do I do today? You would normally do with your spouse or your children or whoever, and you don't have that unit to do it. So it feels like lonely times. You'll find yourself by yourself.
Wow. That is pretty thought-provoking in the fact that I know many that are going through have, again, different walks. You have different journeys that you're going through. Some of you, for some, I know some have been surrounded by family from both sides of the fence, where others, and I'm sure those that are saying that they're feeling lonely are now, seems like they're being put at arm's length now because either that wife's family or that husband's family is taken to their child, let me take care of my child and the rest of y'all, put off to the side. And that can be that's a tough place to be in because now you think to yourself, the family that I've pretty much built myself around, my husband and or my wife's family, that now that spouse is gone, that family now is not talking to me. My personal family doesn't understand the things that I'm going through, and I'm trying to do things the godly way. But in the midst of that, I'm here, people are telling me, why don't you just move on? It's not worth it. It's been a year, it's been 10 years, it's been whatever that is. You look like a fool out here in these streets. And I know it's tough, but the problem that I know a lot of you dealt with in that stand is you feel like I don't have anybody. But let me tell you that God will bring you people to you. Some people come for a little while, right?
There's stages, there's seasons of people coming in and out. But there's also a time where you're going to be with God.
Yes.
And honestly, that was the most best time I guess I had once I realized, okay, nobody's coming back around. Nobody's going to be here in this moment. It's me and you, God. And that's when he's like, I got you. I can pour into you. I can speak what I need to speak to you. I can direct you. I can give you guidance because your clarity is more on point when you don't have a lot of distractions and people in your ear about things. And I think for me, that came it was like our 20th wedding anniversary. And I was hoping he was going to call that day. Did not happen. It seemed like everybody, all the kids, nobody was around. Everybody had plans. Mind you, our wedding anniversary is around 4th of July. So people are out of town. People are going to fireworks show. People are enjoying their families. Nobody, when I say nobody, was around. Nobody. And here I'm at home, just waiting. At least if he's not going to call, can somebody call me that day and want to do something? I got not one phone call. I tried to make calls. Nobody was picking up. It was just literally me and God. And I just sat on the couch for hours. And I finally said, okay, let me go ahead and cut the TV on and figure something out productive. And that's kind of when God,
Right.
Dad, downloaded to me through videos and such as that. I started watching a lot of YouTube stuff and things of that sort. And I was just getting fed and things he probably wanted me to hear. And so that kind of was like, okay, I realized that's what I need to fill a lot of my time with in this journey. Instead of always trying to pick up the phone, speak to somebody or have people around. God's like, no, it's me and you. And that's when I realized, okay, it's going to be me and him for sure. Like, it's going to be moments like that. And I have to be okay with that.
And I know she did touch on that moment about the, that anniversary date, and I know many of you have gone through, that first, second, third, fifth, maybe 10th year anniversary, especially if it's something that's a lot more recent. And I know you want that call, that letter, even if it's just a card, just say you kind of remember me, I know I didn't call on purpose, and I take full blame for that. I didn't call on purpose.
Did you think of the day?
I did. Every year I thought of that day.
But that was a huge
But
one.
in this particular time,
Yeah.
I wanted to call, but I didn't call on purpose, because what I ended up doing, I sat in the seat of the bitter stander, my bitter wife. Of course, this is what I was thinking.
About me. Okay.
So the first thing I thought was, I should call her, at least wish her happy anniversary. But then what came into my mind, of course, here comes the enemy, the trick of the enemy comes in. Why would you call her and tell her happy anniversary? That makes no sense, because if you call her happy anniversary, she's going to be like, what's so happy about it? You're not here. If it's so happy, why don't you just come home? So this is all the things that I was hearing in my ear while I was even thinking about, maybe I should get a card. Maybe if nothing more, I should call, or things of that sort. And this is what I was getting in my ear. So needless to say, I didn't call. And I would have never known that she was waiting, hoping that myself or one of the children or a family member or even a friend would even call. And, and I could have been the one to put the smile on that face at that time. I could have been the one, even at that time, to shorten our journey. But again, this is part of that distraction. And when the enemy, comes into play, mind games, sometimes it's the mind games going into the prodigal. Sometimes it's the mind games that go into the standard. It's your anniversary. Look, they're not even calling. They're not even saying it. See, they don't care. You might as well just move on. And again, it's all the tricks of the enemy.
Yeah. It was a hard day. It was a dark, in the house even. I had everything cut off. It was dark, like crying. I was just done for until I cut on word, and that word came through, and I started seeing restoration stories of people on YouTube, and it just brought me hope. It gave me some peace, but it allowed God to also talk to me. So it ended up being a moment, honestly, I never forget. As far as loneliness, that was probably one of the loneliest times I felt. But at the same time, I remember it so vividly because I remember how God poured into me and I allowed it, because I didn't have nobody else to talk to that day. No, I don't even think the kids came home that night. I was really alone for like 24 hours, and it was okay. By that morning, I realized the next morning, that's what I needed in that time. And then everybody all of a sudden was around, but it's like that sometimes.
And I want you that are listening to understand and be okay with, sometimes you're not going to have those phone calls, especially during these times. This is why it's very important to be before the foot of the Lord and just be able to just kind of allow him to continue to pour into you. Because what ends up happening is, just like I was the husband who left, right? I was the one who walked away. I was the one who thought about calling. But then, are you sure you want to do that? Because that makes no sense. you're going to sound stupid. She's going to let you have it. How many more people might be really thinking the same thing, and the enemy's playing the tricks and the mind games to them that they really want to call, but they think just like I did, that maybe you are going to get upset, that you are going to be angry and go off and say, why are you calling me? It's not good. This is not a good night. I don't know why you said, happy, and why should I be happy about it? So this is what happens a lot of times when the enemy comes in and plays those games with the mind. Because again, his goal is to capture the mind. And if he can have your mind, eventually he turns that heart over into a heart of stone. And that's not what we want. We want to make sure that, you have a heart that's pliable, a heart that's soft, a heart that can be molded. That way the Lord can actually use it. And then good word, good sound teaching and things of that sort can go down and take root and then spring up into an everlasting life and keep you encouraged along that process. So I heard you say that one of the things that you did, number one, other than praying, getting into your word, that you were watching certain things. What kinds of things that you're watching that you would consider like encouraging and uplifting to edify that person, to keep them encouraged?
Yeah, just things that are basically lining up with what I was doing. I was trying to find things that showed me what hope I could have. So things that increased my faith. And so it was funny, he brought me to a channel that happened to be new. I think they had started a week before or a month before I found them, and I had never seen them before because I would always do searches trying to find some type of dialogue about restoration or some encouragement, some prayer, something. So it was awesome because that particular couple really downloaded exactly what I was going through. Never thought I would find something like that. And I know we go through that now. People are like, oh my gosh, nobody talks about this, right?
Yeah.
And it's true because I went to the pastors and I went to seek godly counsel and such. And, as good as hard as they want to have and as loving as they can be, they couldn't help what they believed at the same. They haven't seen what I was doing. So it was helpful for me that, oh my God, God had blessed me to find somebody doing what had gone through what I'm doing, what the process I'm in. And so had I not did that night, I probably it was like the timing was right. And so I had to find something that was going to get me to keep going and not have that bitter heart you're talking about, not be in that bitter place because you didn't call me after 20 years of marriage. How dare you?
Ouch.
But
Ouch.
so be it. It became more of a like, it's okay, because when you return, God's going to bless after blessing. And it has been a blessing. It's almost like that time never happened. So all those lonely moments, he's definitely restored that time. And I appreciate that because it's like, yes, that was just a season though. I think that's the best thing to understand is just a season of time in this whole stand, right? It's just a piece of it. It's temporary. We don't have to be that way, but there's a time though he has for every part of it. And so it allowed me to find that type of different things to use in my stand. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
So what I'm hearing from you is that there were steps that also you had to take to not just be intentional about, hey, this is what I'm not only just called to do, but willing to do, even though it hurts, even though I feel like I might be by myself, though I'm not by myself.
Right.
You're getting some of the encouragement and trying to find things that uplift and actually, that don't contradict the word, but actually go with the word. Yes.
Exactly. So important.
And then, but not only that, while you're going through that, give us an understanding of how you dealt with some of the people that came alongside that necessarily didn't believe like how you were believing.
Oh, wow. I think at those seasons, you have your friends that start off with you that have been around for years, that know both of us, that love us both so much, and they're trying to hang in there and be in there with you. But it was really strange, and people might get this, like when we say like God will bring people in your path, they didn't necessarily understand. So that was interesting. He brought several people that were there though, but they were seeking other things, whether they were just engaged, whether they had just left their marriage. So I'm thinking I'm there. I need them for
pour
my
into you,
situation.
right?
Right. But they were actually there to support me, not understanding or not even knowing at the beginning, but they came, it was like comfort though, but they loved the Lord, whatever their walk was at the time, but they also were just drawn to me for whatever reason. And I realized at that time it was what God was pouring into me that they were drawn to. So it wasn't for my benefit that they came by my side at first, so I thought, but it ended up being more for their benefit. And so you begin to work in your calling that you don't realize you're doing as God is working on what your situation is. So that's what that became. And I ended up finding myself ministering in places that I didn't expect. Right. And because, I was always
Yeah, you were
shy,
always quiet.
quiet.
She. So for those of you who don't know, she's the behind the scenes person. She's not the one who's going to volunteer to be on the stage. She's not the one that's going to volunteer to do the most dramatic and awesome thing to be recognized. She's the one that just showed me how to pull the curtain down in the back. And as long as I'm helping out in the back, so that way everybody can do their part, I'm good. You don't even have to call my name. So she's always been that. So to hear her talk about that people being sent to her, she's thinking, hey, it's going to be people that are going to be here to help me. That's going to, as Moses had, people to hold his hands up so, he can help save a nation. You think you have people that are coming alongside to hold your hands up. And then while you're going through what you're going through, come to find out you're holding their hands up and you're ministering to them. When in actuality, you're feeling like, hey, why am I ministering to other people? Why am I encouraging other people when my cup needs to be poured into? And what ends up happening is, as when you begin to start leaving your problems alone and start focusing on others, you begin to pour out of that cup. God begins to start pouring into your cup. So we have that season that she was talking about of people that were coming into her life that were, again, you had people coming in and leaving. Yes.
Yeah. Like those you thought would be there through the whole thing. And not that they didn't want it, it's just too painful sometimes. And I don't blame them. They're like, I hate to see you do this. It goes back to, why are you doing this? Why are you waiting? Move forward. That's not what the word says. And you're coming back with, no, this is what God showed me. He broke it down to me. And this is why I stand. This is nothing I choose to do. Trust me. I would love to be out there doing other things, but this, but that's not what he said. And so, yeah, those were exiting, but bringing like brand new people that I didn't expect. And it was like, okay, I'm not one to share either. I'm very quiet about anything. It doesn't even matter, personal life, anything. I'm just normally quiet, just a quiet person in general, like my daddy was. So with that, I didn't think I would be sharing what I was sharing, especially a failed marriage per se, a marriage going through a lot of turmoil.
Right.
And I ended up sharing my story with them. They're watching me walk it out, but I'm like, I became more bolder as he's using me, So yeah, it's like people going out, people coming in for a purpose.
And that's one of the things that we'll all have to realize as you'll go through these seasons. Not everyone that has been assigned to you at that time is assigned to you to stay. Right. There are some that are assigned to you in the beginning, some come in the middle, and some come at, toward the end to help make up for those that have left. And then you may have one, maybe two that are there through the whole duration. But sometimes you'll have some of your friends that you've been with for a long time that decided to do deuces. I'm out. This is just too much. I can't watch you go through this. And then even sometimes after, God performs a thing and does a great thing, sometimes they don't come back, because what happens is it actually draws attention to even them, where they have to question their faith in God now and what they're going through. So you're going to go through, these things, but we just want to encourage you that, you're not alone in any of it, because there are so many more people out there that is going through. If you just go through and look at the community and look at the comments of people responding to each other and supporting each other, you're not alone. It's a whole community of people that where everyone's trying to build up that other person to keep them encouraged. Girl, you got to keep on going, because I'm going through, and call me. And I've seen people, hey, call me at this number, and I'll continue talking. I'll continue praying. And you need a community like that helps build you up. So I guess my last question would be, but how, so even though these people are coming in, so God is sending you seasons of new people, how did you handle some of the ones that have been around for a long time, whether it was family members or friends, that it was time for them to depart? How did you handle those seasons when people were walking away?
I was okay. I ended up being okay. I'm like, okay, it wasn't meant for them. I started to understand. I think prior to that, God was showing me this is not their walk. This is your walk. I didn't call them to this walk. So give them grace, because they didn't sign up for this. Although they're my friend, I get it. But there's some seasons in life we have to walk through just with him or whoever he provides us to walk in. And it wasn't meant for
That's
everybody, because everybody cannot handle it.
Good.
They cannot handle it. They can't handle your walk. And I'm okay with that. And by grace, I'm like, okay, no problem. No problem. And that's when he was allowing others to come in, or it was just me and God, which I was fine with. Or this couple I had on YouTube, and it was great because they were, continuously doing videos and pouring in, which ended up being a great savior to what my mindset was, because I looked forward to it. So I get it. This ain't easy though, but I get it. And so, yeah, I was okay with it. And some of those people, again, they come back towards the end, and I have no malice.
Yeah.
I have nothing but love for them. And I thank each and every one of them, because you had a part in what I was doing. You tried to support. And I love that. And I'm not here to, there was no way I would bash any of them, because it wasn't their journey. So.
And it's interesting she says that, because what came to mind for me as she was talking about that's not their journey. When we say, as a couple, when we say I do, whether you're the husband or the spouse, when we say I do to that other spouse, it's not I do based upon what my mom or my dad says, what the pastor says, what the friends down the street, your old girlfriends, boyfriends. It's not even about anything they have to say or their input. It's what both of you have decided in your heart to do, to say I do to the good times, to the bad times, to the ups and downs, the rich, the poor, in sickness and in health, and then, of course, until death do you part. So what happens is, when we go through a lot of these things, a lot of times what happens, thank you for that download. A lot of times what happens is, when we go through sometimes marriage, let's be honest, when we didn't ask approval. Some of us didn't ask approval or talk to anybody about, hey, do you think we should or not? Do you think we should go through this or not? So all of a sudden now we go through these things later on, and now all of a sudden we're asking people's opinions on how they feel about our situation sometimes. And it's not a walk that these other people have to take. It's something that you've been called to in this season, which is why God wants to be that person and that person alone to give you that instruction, to give you those scriptures, to send you those people to get their proper encouragement. Sometimes you'll look in your daily word or something, you'll get a scripture and you'll be like, Lord, I needed that. And then all of a sudden you go throughout the day, and for some reason, somebody in TJ Maxx or wherever that is, you're shopping, and somebody just walks up to you and says another kind word that mimics the word that you already gotten for the day. And it's that type of thing that you have to look for on a daily basis. Lord, give me that daily bread. Doesn't matter if it's coming through, sometimes the TV, whether it's coming through the phone, that email, that text message, that daily bread. But most importantly, it's very imperative that you have a prayer life. That is so important, that you have a prayer life. And I know there are many out there that, a lot of times, not all, but, there are many that sometimes only look at the word, when they go to church or when they go to that service. Mm-hmm. But you have to be very instrumental and religious at reading and getting into that word daily and staying before the foot of the Lord, because that prayer life is important. And why is that?
Religious.
Yeah. You have to be religious about it, because, and what I mean by religious, because, some people talk about, that, religion, but it's not about religion. It's about relationship.
Yes.
And you have to be very disciplined when being before the foot of the Lord. You have to be disciplined to say, hey, make sure it's, let's just say my prayer time is at 3:00, whatever that you set that time to, that you're just very disciplined and conscientious about making sure that you are being before the feet of the Lord or in your word.
Yeah, that's a good practice. I started practicing that because no matter where I was, there are times you just like, oh, I can't wait to get home at my prayer class. And it was like, no
time.
I'm at my desk.
Do it.
I just start praying. And nobody had to know I was praying. Wherever I was, wherever I needed that extra strength, I would just begin to pray, and it became normal for me. So, yeah.
And, the Bible talks about this kind comes but by prayer and fasting, or fasting and prayer. And, sometimes it's just not enough to just pray only. Sometimes you're actually going to have to go down and fast as well. Turn that plate to the side. I'm fasting from social media. I'm fasting from the garbage and all these different things. And of course, that's going to be a big problem if you're not turning down on a regular basis a lot of the social media and stuff like that. Yeah. Because when we're always on social media going through some of the different things, the last thing you want to see is an accidental post that was accidental on one hand, but purposeful for you, because you end up seeing something that you weren't supposed to see. And then all of a sudden, instead of taking 10 steps forward, you're taking 25 steps backwards, because now you saw something thinking that, hey, this person over here is having a good life. This looks great. He's got biscuits and gravy going on over here, and everything's just cool. Only to find out that, there's still a story even behind that scene, because not everything you see when people go, oh man, you see this, that husband or your wife bought a new car. They got this going on. They just went to, they went to London or Spain, wherever that is. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, see, he's now all of a sudden he just living it up, or she's living it up. Well, guess what? That's what's in front of you. But behind the scenes, as we talk about, all that glitters is not gold. Mm-hmm. So you can't always believe what you see. The saying goes, the grass is not always greener on the other side. So what happens is we so busy looking at the other person's lawn because their grass may be greener than ours at the time, only to find out that the reason why ours isn't green because we didn't take the time to water it. We didn't take the time to nurture it, to fertilize it, things of that sort. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can. So if you're that standard and you're just kind of going through, these moments of feeling as though that you're by yourself, you feel as though, hey, you know what? I remember at one point in time, it used to be, when I walk across the beach or I was in the mountains, I was hiking, whatever we did, it was always myself and my husband at the amusement park or at the beach or at the car show or at church. And now it just seems like now I'm by myself, But I just want to let you know, just because you see one set of footprints doesn't mean you're by yourself, because a lot of times it's not your footprints that you see, it's the Lord's, because he's carrying you.
Yeah. And he brought to my memory about who stood by our side at the altar. So it was your brother, Joel, and my cousin, Amika. And funny thing, they both were there for us through the entire stand.
Yeah.
Although they weren't always daily, but they both were in prayer for us.
Yeah.
So we also got to remember those people. It may seem alone, but it was like, but still we could reach out to them if we needed to. And I thought that was interesting. He just kind of downloaded that to me.
And that's
so it's important.
That's good to remember some of the things.
Those are the accountable people I was trying to say.
Yeah,
I think.
because we all need, and I think this is what happens, and I'll just talk about it, not from the prodigal side, but from the man side, just being a man. And one of the things that I think we as men fail at is we don't seek out an accountability partner that holds us accountable, both spiritually and naturally. And a lot of times when we don't do and seek out that accountability partner, we do what we want to do when we feel like it. We make rash decisions. We do unseemly things. But when we have that accountability partner has the freedom and the luxury of coming into your life. That accountability partner has the opportunity of calling you in the morning, late at night, or whenever that is, or do a pop-up at the house and say, hey man, I'm just thought I'd just come by to check on you, to see how you're doing. How's this going? How's your married life? Let's talk about it. How's your spiritual life? How's this and that? But what happens is we don't do that because, number one, men a lot of times don't want to be transparent. They don't want to be honest. They don't want to be held to the fire to do what's right. So this happens where we then make, stupid decisions, dumb decisions, or we make things out of arrogance where, hey, I'm the man, I'm the head of the house. I should be able to do what I want. I don't have to talk to anybody. But when it happens is when we have that accountability partner say, that is a pretty good decision, but are you sure now is the right time to do that? And if you do that, how will that affect this? How will that affect that and this, that, and the other? But then at the same time, that same accountability partner is the one that's also giving you the pat on the back when you're doing a great job. So you just want to make sure that if you're the man and you're listening to this, that you are trying to seek out and find that accountability partner. One that's going to not tell you what you want to hear, but one that's going to challenge your thought process. Challenge you in where you are in your relationship with the Lord, and it calls you to be better on both fronts, both naturally and spiritually, and also be the husband that you need to be.
Yeah. It was a download right now. And speaking back to you talking about accountability, I was so afraid. Like I said, I was very quiet and I didn't want all my business out there. So I was afraid to go to certain people too. So I think back to my matron of honor who I just brought up. And I was afraid to go and share.
Yeah.
And God had to show me in a dream that I needed to go to her too. He'll do things like that, and he's like, she needs to be the next person that walks you through this part of your journey. And so we had talked one day and download, not knowing she was already walking with other people in their marriages. I had no clue. So it was like, wow. And she walked us all the way through the end on my side. And when you came back, so I just thank him for that, because sometimes he's telling us, well, I have this person for you and it's okay to go to them, because I was really concerned how my journey was going to play out depending on who I went to. Right. But there and yet she was who I had at the altar with me the day we got married, and ended up being the accountability partner as well that I needed spiritually. So I just thought that was awesome.
So what I'm hearing is sometimes we get stuck in our own way because we're worried about the aftermath. God will send you people if in fact there's not already someone lined up just waiting to be used, waiting to be that instrument for you, waiting to be that vessel for God to use to encourage you, to help build you up on your most holy faith. There are plenty of people out there. As we've always said, we always make ourselves available to each and every one of you. If you reach out to us, we will call, we will respond, we will speak with you, we will encourage you, we will pray with you. Because the most important thing, we want God's will to be done in your lives, but just not in your life, but also in your family's life, your children's children. Because if the enemy can get in and start tearing up marriages, he wants to tear up the generation. Because if he can break up the generation, that will cause problems later on. So, we have to all get to the point to where we say with each other, you know what, the buck stops here. Maybe I didn't see a healthy marriage in the previous generation. I didn't see a previous healthy marriage in the generations before me. My mom was never married. My dad was never married, or I had an absentee father or absentee mother. But we all have to say, you know what? It's going to stop with me. I'm going to stand. I'm going to do what God has called me to do. And I'm going to go through this. And whatever God's called me to do in this area, I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to be trustworthy. I'm going to be disciplined. And we're going to knock this out. And we're just going to wait for the Lord to just do his thing. But we're here to let you know that we're praying for each and every one of you. I sent a post out earlier today, if you saw it on Instagram, where it says the biggest flex is when God has completely restored you. And when you turn around and see the people that hurt you, you don't become one of them. That is one of the biggest flex. And that's called being made whole. Because when God heals you, you're not worried about what happened to you in the past and all that kind of stuff. That means you could be around that family member, that cousin, that old associate or whatever. And when you generally see them, you're not trying to hide from them. You can actually hug them and say, it's so good to see you. And you can walk away and feel as though you didn't have any ill will feelings toward that individual. And that's called healing, being made whole by the Lord. And only the Lord can do that. But there's a process to that, and that's only through relationships. So I would say continue to build that relationship with the Lord and allow him to walk you through the process.
Amen. Amen. Well, we thank you guys for joining us today. We love each and every one of you. And we pray you have a good rest of the week and just keep standing strong. For those who are standing and those prodigals who may be listening, go home. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, she hit the nail on the head. So, if you're listening, go home. Just go home. Don't wait any longer. I know you're going through some struggles of your own, but you know what? God is trying to tug at you. So if you're watching this video, you've made it this far, just go home. Let the Lord use you and trust him in every aspect of your life, and go home. Go back to your first love, and just know that the Lord will bless you in your obedience. Just know that we love you. And if you're getting value from this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget that we'll be coming right back with more information for you. Take care. Bye for now.